Good evening, everyone, and welcome to 2023 town meeting. Unfortunately, Marty Nicka won't be with us tonight. He's been doing it for so long. He's about the only one that I remember. So I'm going to start the meeting, and then we will have a nomination for a moderator, and then we'll hopefully vote on a moderator and get started. I'd like to start with, and from listening to Marty, talk, just remind those that are not registered voters in the town of Ludlow. We love your participation, but please do not vote on any of the articles that may be happening. We're going to get started with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So at this time, I will ask for nominations for the moderator for this meeting.
Nominate Newt Rose.
We have a motion for Newt Rose. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second? Bob Brandt? Okay, any further nominations?
Who nominated me?
Brett. Hearing none? All those in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Guys have it. Newt, it's your meeting. Thank you.
Before we start, if there are no objections, Scott Murphy would like to read two resolutions.
Thanks, Newt.
Does he have a microphone?
He doesn't. He doesn't have a microphone. So there's a concurrent House resolution. The first one that was passed was offered by Representative Nicole of Ludlow.
Murphy?
Sorry, we can't hear anything from here.
Hello?
Step up to the microphone.
Nothing turned on.
Center. Okay.
Offered by Senators Clarkson, McCormick, and White, whereas Ludlow native Bruce Schmidt has devoted his life to the betterment of his hometown, and whereas Bruce Schmidt graduated from Black River High School and proved his mettle as a conscientious and consistently reliable employee during a 38-year career at the Yakima Mountain Resort, beginning at the entry level and rising to the position of general manager. And whereas prior to graduating from high school, Bruce Schmidt started serving the town of Ludlow as a cemetery employee, and since 2019, he has served on the Cemetery Commission. And whereas public education is a topic of great concern for Bruce Schmidt, and for many years, he was a member of the board of Black River High School, and for much of that time, he served ably as the chair of the panel. And whereas since 2002, Bruce Schmidt has sat on the Ludlow Select Board, participating in municipal government decisions that impact a broad spectrum of public life. And whereas since 2018, he has been privileged to serve as chair of the Select Board. And whereas in 2023, this much respected community leader in the town of Ludlow will not be standing for re-election for the Select Board, concluding an exemplary tenure of 21 years. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate and House of Representatives that the General Assembly honors Ludlow Select Board Chair Bruce Schmidt for his distinguished civic leadership, and be it further resolved that the Secretary of State be directed to send a copy of this resolution to Bruce Schmidt.
Thank you.
And we do have one more. Again, offered by Representative Nicole of Ludlow. Whereas Phil Carter has lived in the town of Ludlow for 48 eventful years, serving the town in many capacities and always looking to be of assistance. And whereas gardening and landscaping are special passions of Phil Carter, and he is known as both a master gardener and master composter at the Ludlow Community Garden. And whereas his interest in beautiful landscapes also prompted a related concern for comprehensive town planning, the proper application of local zoning ordinances, and the thoughtful approval of proposed new construction projects. And whereas these concerns result in his service for 37 years on the Ludlow Development Review Board, which he currently chairs. And whereas his involvement with many community activities broadened his exposure to a variety of municipal issues, prompting him to stand successfully for election to the Select Board, on which he served for 3 years, including as chair. And whereas the town of Ludlow has frequently availed itself of the numerous talents of Phil Carter, a citizen always ready to answer the call to duty, now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate and House of Representatives that the General Assembly honors Phil Carter for his exemplary community service in the town of Ludlow, and be it further resolved that the Secretary of State be directed to send a copy of this resolution to Phil Carter.
What do we do about this microphone situation? We're gonna have a microphone there. One of these go over there?
Yeah, I don't.
We're gonna need a microphone on this for the moderator. Can we get that?
Thank you. Before we start, I'd like to give an overview of tonight's process. So there are 11 articles to be decided at this year's town meeting. Article 1 will be decided tomorrow by Australian ballot. The rest will be decided tonight by you all, and you can see them on page 10 of your booklets. This group is here to make decisions on those articles only. This group cannot make a binding decision on something that hasn't been warned or announced ahead of time. If there is something you'd like to discuss or comment that's not directly related to these articles, you can do that, but you can do that as part of other business towards the end of the meeting. Just remember, we can't make any decisions during that time. We'll be using Robert's Rules of Order, except when modified by Vermont state law. What that means is that for every article, someone can make a motion to adopt it, and someone else can second that motion. After that happens, discussion can begin, but discussion should be relevant to that specific topic. You can let me know if you'd like to say something by going to the microphone or raising your hand. Please wait until you're recognized, and only one person is recognized at a time. As Bruce said, only registered voters in Ludlow can make motions and vote. If you are not a registered voter of the town and need to speak because an article affects you, please say so before speaking on the issue, and I can ask the voters to allow you to participate. If there are no objections, Scott Murphy can speak during tonight's meeting in his capacity as town manager, and Stephanie Grover in her capacity as ambulance service chief. When you speak, you can address your comments to me, and you can ask questions of the town manager or the select board, but you can do that through questions to me. When the debate is over, we will vote on the article. First, I will ask people in favor to say aye, and then people opposed to say no. I will announce the outcome of that vote based on what I hear, and if you don't agree, you can request a division, which means I'll ask all those in favor to raise their hand, and all those opposed to then raise their hand. And if 7 people request it, a vote must be done by paper. Also remember that after we've moved on to the next article, we can't go back to a previous one. So what's done is done. Are there any questions about the process tonight? All right, so we can start with Article 2. Article 2. Shall the voters of the town of Ludlow vote to exempt the property located at 22 Buttermilk Falls Road, owned by the Ludlow Masonic Building Association, from property taxes for a period of 5 years, commencing with the 2023 tax year? Is there someone to make a motion? And your name? Thank you. And your name? Thank you. Is there a second? Second. Thank you. Any discussion?
Moderator, I request to address the assembly here tonight. If I may, on behalf of the Masons, Ludlow Lafayette Lodge is again asking for your vote to exempt taxes for the next period of 5 years that you have done for the past 20. It's sort of a special year for Masonry in Ludlow, as the lodge is 155 years old this fall. We were chartered in September 1868, and we've been supporting our community and surrounding areas ever since. Ludlow Lodge is a 990N nonprofit, and the Masonic Charities of Vermont, which is a Grand Lodge program, is a 501c3. Our philanthropic efforts are divided between local, state, nation, and world. Locally, we have supported organizations in the community, relied on a yearly basis a scholarship program for local students, and we fund annually the expeditionary school at Blackwood High School. On the state level, we have financed the training of teachers through the Masonic Law Student Assistance Program. The training started in 1990 and continues today. As a matter of fact, it will be run next week in the Burlington area, and the emphasis will be on trauma. The teachers have recognized what I call children with broken hearts. It's behavioral changes that teachers can recognize in the classroom that may have a hint of an at-risk situation going on there. Our support for this program over the 34 years has exceeded $700,000, and that's all paid with by the Masons in the state of Vermont. On a national level, we participate and are a member of the Masonic Service Association in North America. We sponsor a visitation to the Veterans Association Hospital, one in Portland, for us locally. We also run a disaster relief fund, and we get donations for states that are hit with hurricanes, tornadoes, fires, and floods. I think you probably remember the tornado devastation in Kentucky a couple years ago. MSA collected over $270,000 to help in restructuring and rebuilding for those people. On a national level, on a national level, the Shrine, they spend $1 million a day in support of their 27 hospitals. And I don't think it's known too much, but in order to be a Shriner, you first have to be a Mason. So our Masonic philanthropic effort is wide, and we're very, very proud of that status. In a way, when you look at it, by allowing us to package this status, your all are helping us contribute to our philanthropic effort, and we thank you very, very much. I guess that's all I have to say.
Any further discussion? Yes. And your name?
Peter Gerard, what do they pay in taxes for that place anyway? What is the tax rate on that? $5,000?
It's $3,360.
$3,000. And you give home taxes in it? Worry about this.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, we can now vote. All those in favor of approving Article 2 indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes appear to have it, the ayes do have it, and the article is passed. Moving on to Article 3. Shall the voters of the town of Ludlow fix the salaries of the select board, cemetery commissioners, and trustees of public funds the same as last year? That being select board, $1,600, cemetery commissioners, $900, and trustees of public funds, $400. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Mr. Fortuna, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Good evening, I'm Alan Couch, been a 21-year member of this town. I have a question about the salaries of the cemetery commission. The select board, in my opinion, you guys don't earn the money. You guys earn more than, you aren't paid enough, the select board. Trustees of public funds, I have no idea what they do. Currently, there's no one on the ballot for trustee of public funds. The cemetery commission, no disrespect to the members, I'm not sure what they do. They meet 6 to 8 times a year, and my understanding is, based on looking at previous budgets, it's a salaried position. They get $900 whether they go to the meetings or not. There are other boards in this town, specifically the planning commission. Their salary is $25 a meeting, and if they don't meet or absent at the meeting, they don't get paid for that. It's a per diem. The cemetery commission, their meetings are typically 11 to 37 minutes. The planning commission meets for at least an hour and a half every month they meet. I think the planning commission is severely underpaid. Again, I'm not sure what the cemetery commission does, and again, no disrespect to the members, but if you can collect a salary of $900 a year, whether you show up or not, that's a nice gig. So I would suggest that, not at this meeting, but at some time down the line, salaries of the public commissions get revisited and people get compensated appropriately. Thank you.
Any additional comments? Hearing no further discussion, we can now move to a vote. All those in favor of passing Article 3, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The ayes appear to have it, the ayes do have it, and the article is passed. Moving on to Article 4. Shall the town of Ludlow collect taxes on real property in installments, taxes to be paid to the town treasurer on August 15th, 2023, November 15th, 2023, February 15th, 2024, and May 15th, 2024, and must be delivered to the town treasurer and postmarked on or before the due date. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion. Aaron Underwood.
Thank you. And a second? Sharon, Ms. Bixby. Any discussion? Yeah.
Is there a provision, I believe there is, that if we get the jail, we can move the select board or the manager has the power to move these two dates if necessary?
What, Chris, why would they move them?
Well, just in the case of this crazy scenario where the state doesn't have an education rate ready for us to be able to bill, or we don't vote our school budget in a timely fashion, that can cause that first due date of August 15th be really tight and we can't do it. So I think we have a provision that can do that.
That's right, and I think that happened like 2 years ago. So the answer is yes.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? All right. We can now go to a vote. All those in favor of passing Article 4 indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it, the ayes do have it, and the article is passed. Moving on to Article 5, shall the voters of the town of Ludlow authorize the select board to borrow money to pay necessary expenses of the town in any part of its indebtedness? Is there a motion for that? Mr. Pullinan? A second? Ms. Bixby? Any discussion? Hearing none, we can move to a vote. All those in favor of passing Article 5, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those who oppose, say no. The ayes appear to have it, the ayes do have it, and the article is passed. Moving to Article 6. Shall the voters of the town of Ludlow vote a specific amount in lieu of a rate on $1 on the grand list as set forth in the Select Board's budget and Windsor County budget? Then the Select Board shall set the tax rate necessary to raise this amount after the grand list has been completed and lodged in the office of the town clerk. The amount to be raised by taxes will be $4,409,115. Is there a motion on this? Mr. Buckley? Is there a second? Mr. Fortuna? Any discussion on Article 6? Yes.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. I mean, wow, seems like you guys keep going up every year. My question is, all these other, in Article 9, all these other things that we put into a slush fund, is that part of this budget? I mean, if these guys need a piece of equipment, is that coming out of the tax money or is that coming out of slush fund? Because, wow, I mean, that's a lot of money.
Would you like to comment, Mr. Murphy?
No, is there a question there? I didn't understand your question.
My question is, if say the highway department needs a piece of equipment, is that part of this budget? In other words,
It is.
it is.
It's in there.
Then why are we throwing money into a slush fund?
I don't know what slush fund you're referring to.
Article 9.
We're
All
on-
these little articles that we put a lot of money aside for them to buy new equipment and stuff. If that's not being used to pay for equipment, then what is this for?
So Article 6 is the one we're talking about right now.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is, if the highway department, which is part of this town, or the police department, or the ambulance service, or anything, needs a piece of equipment, is that taken out of this budget?
I think you're asking me if a truck is being purchased, is it in this budget? And the answer is yes.
Then why are we throwing money into a slush fund?
I don't know what you're talking about with slush.
Article 9 is an article where
We're not on
to
Article
throw
9.
extra money into a fund.
Are there any other
We're on
comments?
Article 6.
Excuse me? It is part of Article 6, because it means that this Article 9 is null and void if you guys are doing this. If that's part of the budget.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, but I must be a little dense, because it seems to me like this is foolish that we throw money into Article 9, we vote on this, and yes, it raises our tax rate and everything, and yet you put it already into the budget.
Thank you. Mr. Schmidt?
So let's just get this straightened out. So the article that you're seeing on, when we go to 9, will be used for capital, will be used for building renovations, things like that. The day-to-day operation, if we need to fix, still hear me? If we needed to fix a, furnace or something, it would come out of this budget we're talking about. The other items would be for larger type of, so a truck would not be in this budget. A truck would be in the budget that we're going to be, the article we're going to talk about in Article 9. Okay? All right.
Any further comments? In the back, yes.
I'd like to commend the selectmen for having the budget that they have. I was listening to BPR today, they were talking about budgets across the state and how they were
Thank you. And your name? Thank you. Mr. Schmidt?
I think it's important to note, as we work on this budget, we work really closely with the department heads. This board spends a lot of time scrutinizing what goes in there, down to the point of, line by line, as would be expected. I will say that you're seeing a larger increase here for a couple reasons. Salary and wages. We increased salary and wages, brought departments up to where they needed to be because it was the right thing to do. I put up the employees we have that work for this town against anyone. And I think I speak for myself and I think for the select board to say that we're very lucky to have the employees that we have. With the turnover that you've seen, in maybe your own businesses, your own jobs. So it's very fortunate. So there's been some there. And then the increased inflationary costs of just items that we have from, diesel fuel to sand, to just all the things that go along with that. So I'm not telling any of you anything that, you don't know or you're not feeling yourselves, but I give Scott Murphy a lot of credit and the department heads a lot of credit for working. And we started much higher, I can assure you of that. And the select board, went through in our public meetings, just keep working at it, churning and getting to it. So just want to let you know kind of how the process went together.
Any other comments? Mr. Mealy?
So I think basically what you're summing up is, and I think that's what Mr. Guerrero is saying, is that Article 6, we need to collect $4.4 million, but then in Article 9, we're collecting another 97. So really, our budget would be $4.5 million altogether. We're just separated into two separate articles, just because we're two different accounts. Sure. That's Chris Mealy. Sums it up. Be more than that.
Any additional comments? Yes. And your name?
Ryan Perry. I'm just wondering, with this high school building, where you're raised by taxes, $87,000. At some point, are we going to break even on this, or are we just going to continue to maintain pretty much empty buildings?
Bruce?
So, we made we spoke when we bought this building of working to do something here by the 5-year mark, and we're getting there. And it'll be up to the next board with input from, individual, from citizens of the town of where we want to go with it. And the board is well aware that, there is an expense. When we proposed in buying it, we actually felt that it was going to be $100,000 a year, and it's actually down to 87. And we do have the school in there, expeditionary school, which has been a great tenant, for us. So yes, we want to try to balance what they want to do with, with where we want to go. But I think you'll find, support for doing something with the building before it gets, you don't want it to deteriorate, although they're using and we're heating, different areas of that. But it's a concern. It rightfully so. It needs to be addressed.
Anyone else? Hearing no more discussion, we can move to vote on Article 6. All those in favor on approving Article 6, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it, the ayes do have it, and the article is passed. Moving on to Article 7. Shall the voters of the town of Ludlow appropriate the sum of $312,085 to the Ludlow Community Ambulance Service to support their overall operations. Is there a motion? Is there a second? So Neil? Any discussion on Article 7? Mr. Gerard.
Yeah, we bought them an ambulance last year, because they run into everything with it. Because I guess the old ones were old and everything else, I understand that. But $312,000, I looked further in the pages, it's like $800,000 to run this ambulance service for 2 ambulances. This is a white elephant. I know they do provide a great service for the community and everybody around here. 80% of it is on the mountain. $312,000. Are we the only community thrown into this fund, or is there other communities that are thrown into this? $312,000, that's a lot of money for, what do you got, 5 employees, 6 maybe? Plus you got a booking service that does all the books for you and everything else. I say, sell it all.
Thank you. Any additional comments? Bruce.
I'm going to politely disagree with, your comment that they run into things and that we should sell it, because we have a hardworking team in our ambulance, and obviously we all want to be able to answer, we want that call answered if we have to use it. And many of us know people or individually have been in that situation. So if you look at the budget, you will see that there are, for revenue, Cavendish puts in money, and so doesn't Plymouth. Now, what we're asking in the next article is to take this. This is a proprietary fund, so it has to make, it uses what it makes. So by taking it out of the proprietary fund, we would not have this article in, it would just be in the budget. The $300,000 would just be in the budget. But we have to get permission to put it into, so that's what it costs to operate an ambulance. And there is a lot that goes into it. The team, buys ambulances when we need them, and I can tell you that they don't waste money, they don't run into things, and they really, are an asset to the town.
Any other people would like to discuss?
This is more of just a question than a statement, but what does the chemo contribute to the ambulance fund? I believe it's about 50% of the calls go to the mountain.
So this year we reached an agreement. We met with them several times over the year. We're working, trying to solve some of the problems that happened last year, and we worked out most of the issues. We solved most of the issues, and Stephanie met with their staff, and she worked out an agreement where some of their staff to be trained and work in conjunction with our staff during the high peak times. And so they've been doing that this winter. We've staffed 2 ambulances on the weekends during the course of the winter, and also during the high peak periods of Christmas week and the vacation week in February. So we've staffed those 2 ambulances. In addition, we work with the Okemo staff. So, but to answer your question, the part of the agreement is that they would contribute $38,000 towards the ambulance fund.
Thank you. Was there a comment in the back? Yes.
Question. So I see on page 19, expenses, $803,000, and I see revenue projected $829,000. Where does the 312 fit in with that? It's just totally separate, and what is the 312 that for?
If you look there, you'll see the revenue. The 312 is in as the revenue. See that? Yep. So we're kind of like hoping. So that's what, yeah. If not, we'll have to go back and redo.
Any additional comments? Hearing none, we can move to vote on Article 7. All those in favor of approving Article 7, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. No. The ayes appear to have it, the ayes do have it, and the article is passed. Moving to Article 8. Shall the voters of the town of Ludlow vote to eliminate the Ludlow Community Ambulance Service as a proprietary fund and to include it into the town's general fund budget beginning in FY 2025? Is there a motion? Ms. Carter?
I'll vote to approve the article.
Is there a second? Ms. Bixby? Any discussion?
I guess, just off the top of my head, math-wise, if the email man is responsible for 50% of the calls, and they're paying less than 10% of the amount that the town of Ludlow is, that seems a bit off.
Thank you. Was there a comment behind you too?
I just had a question as to where that article, where it was proposed, and what was the purpose.
Mr. Murphy?
So Dean, as Bruce alluded to earlier, the Ludlow Ambulance Service is a proprietary fund, which is also called an enterprise fund. They operate similarly to private sector businesses, whereas they self-support by the services they provide. So they cover their own costs through charges or reimbursements. Funds cannot be transferred between the general fund and enterprise funds. And so what that has done a little bit is hamstring us a little bit. And so that we have to pick a number that we project will fit into the budget. In this case, it's a $312,000 number that we're talking about. So what we'd like to do is bring it under the umbrella of the town, which it probably should be in any case. That would give us two things. That would enable two things to happen for us. It would allow the town more flexibility to move money in and out of other departments if we had a shortfall in one, like we do now, like if highway was short or whatever. So by moving the ambulance underneath our umbrella, that would allow us that flexibility. The other benefit of this is that it would possibly help reduce the amount of funding that the town has to contribute to the $312,000, because we'd have a better handle on the budget at that time. So right now, if we run out of funds, there's no source to turn to. But if they were under the town umbrella with this flexibility, we could, move funds from a fund that was not using as much. Does that make sense?
Yeah. How would it affect the way the other towns contribute? Would it affect that?
It wouldn't affect that. We work on a per person basis with the towns, and we've been increasing their contributions year in, year out, but we're also paying out more expenses too. Like Springfield Rescue charges us now for certain calls, and Chester now is going to do the same. So we're in the process of fixing that so that the revenue and the expenses balance out.
In the back?
So, Andy, that was reached through an agreement and a discussion over the course of several meetings with them. It was based on the number of calls to the mountain and the type of support we can get from the mountain, meaning staff and whatever else we can get.
So does that cover what the services that are being provided to the mountain? Is it 100% covered by $38,000?
In theory, yes. So when an ambulance goes up there to pick somebody off the mountain, the insurance covers the payment for the ride. But there's always the difference, you know, there's never 100% payment. So that 38,000 should cover that, yes.
I guess this is basic math, again, I'm not bright, but if they're using 50% of the ambulance cost, don't you think that they should maybe put it for 50% of the ambulance cost?
I don't know the answer to that. Right now, we're talking about the proprietary fund issue.
Stephanie's got her hand
Article
up.
8. Stephanie?
There's a misconception that 50% of our calls are at the mountain. In the winter months that the mountain is open, we're there about 20 to 40% of our call volume. So we have roughly 800 calls last year. Our numbers have decreased since COVID. So we're still gaining numbers in call volume since then. Of the 800 calls, we're at the mountain about 125 times, which is far from the 50%. The money that OPEMA is contributing is covering that second ambulance. So we recognized last year with all of our missed calls that we don't have the staff to do the volume of calls that we have in town because of the population. That's not just OPEMA. As you know, the grocery stores are busy, the restaurants are busy, everything is busy. So we need to increase our staffing in the winter. So we staffed the second truck about 60 days this winter. That $38,000 covers basically the standby of the 2 people to staff the truck. What we're hoping for is the revenue that we generate from that second truck pays for the rest of the expenses and the stuff in between. The salaries and overtime and everything, before the people work more, it's more than $38,000. With us doing that, we have only had mutual aid come up here about 5 times since December. Last year, we had mutual aid come up 5 times in 1 day. So we have the revenue, we're covering the calls, we have a great relationship with ski patrol. We have ski patrollers that are actually coming and working for the service now because they like the higher level of care, they like the integration. So on both sides, it's a really good program.
Thank you. And, excuse me. Excuse me. Thank you. And just a reminder that Article 8 is specifically about the proprietary funds of the ambulance. Article 7, which you voted on, is about the general budget. Mr. Gerard.
Does this mean they're gonna fall under town employees?
They already do.
And the town's gonna run their books and stuff for them?
They're already town employees, and the town, you know, I think that we do use a billing service, but any other billing is done through the town, through the town employees.
Is that what this is about?
All this really does, I can remember when I was on the board several years ago, and there was actually a like $350,000 surplus with the ambulance, and I was frustrated that we couldn't use that in other departments around the town, you know, for other departments in the town. So what this allows you to do is it allows us to, I mean, we've had surpluses, you know, many times, you know, with the town. I think the teams do a great job of managing their budgets. So we end up with a surplus. Now we can move, so if a department, if the ambulance, as an example, happens to be in a deficit, we can move money over if this passes. You can't do that any other way. And it's just it's a really good, I think it's a real good way for having better flexibility. It's pretty much just a, you know, we have to get approval. It's the way you would run your own business. If you had different departments, you'd be able to move money around, and we do that quite often now.
Any additional comments? Yes.
Is the ambulance making less money now, where they charge per, let's say, the passenger per ride to the hospital than they did before, because they're still making money on the insurance and the people that have to pay the fee for the ride?
I think I understand your question is the ambulance service in a better financial position as far as breaking even? And the answer is yes to that.
That's because we contracted with that bill pay that enables the ambulance to capture more of those funds by that company direct billing the patients and the medical providers. That's why we did that in the first place, to capture more of the revenue that was otherwise just sitting out, unable to get captured.
Any additional comments? In the back, yes.
So, I understand, so if we bring it on to our budget, and if chemo were to pay more, so and that could actually benefit other parts of our budget, would that be correct?
Correct.
And so, does the 38,000 just cover expenses, it sounds like? I know it's just this way. But does it cover, in any way, does it consider the capital that we're actually financing with that 38,000? Expenses are expenses, the capital's going far greater. And is that considered in the 38,000?
Andy, the 38,000 has nothing to do with this proprietary question. So I have to stick to the article question itself. So if the voters approve this, it'll give us more flexibility in the future, okay?
Understood, but if it comes onto our budget, it's actually relevant. I understand it's not directly, but I think indirectly it's very
Okay, all right, so to answer your question that way, in the future, it would give us a better financial flexibility.
So does the $38,000, does it consider capital expenditures or just expenses?
Just expenses. The 38,000, as Stephanie mentioned, covers that second ambulance right now,
Got it.
staffing.
Can we readdress this in next year's budget so that Okemo and Vale is actually financing the capital that we're financing? And they're just covering expenses, it sounds like.
Thank you.
You'll have to give us anything.
Any additional comments? All right, hearing none, we can now vote on Article 8. All those in favor of passing Article 8 indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it, the ayes do have it, and the article is passed. Next, Article 9. Shall the voters of the town of Ludlow authorize the select board to maintain a capital fund to support the following vehicle and equipment purchases, building maintenance and repairs, and to fund programs, that being Highway Equipment Fund, $30,000. Fire Equipment Fund, $30,000. Police Equipment Fund, $5,000. Recreation Facilities Fund, $10,000. Ludlow Town Hall Facilities Fund, $10,000. Ludlow Community Center Facilities Fund, $5,000. Black River Senior Center Facilities Fund, $2,500. Black River High School Building Fund, $5,000. The amount to be raised in taxes will be $97,500. Is there a motion? Is there a second? Mr. Bixby? Any discussion on Article 9? In the back, yes.
Yes, are these funds designated to specific funds, fire fund, and these funds can't be used for other purposes, say, taking $5,000 from the recreation facility and buying down on the water department? Money for these funds are designated, and so at the end of the year, if the funds left over, they get transferred to the next year.
Page 14.
So Alan, each capital fund, when it was established, had specific purpose to it. So when that select board established that capital fund, it had a specific purpose and it can't be used for other purposes.
I appreciate that. I just don't want us to rush forward on money for an ambulance or a fire engine or a truck afterwards. Thank you.
And the people recording this are asking that we use the microphone just to record that on the stage. Yes.
Peter Kalenda, Fire Chief. If you turn to page 14, you'll see the balance in the fire equipment fund of $394,000. We have a 20-year replacement schedule on our two main engines, and next year our 2004 engine is up for replacement, which will probably take a couple years to get. But anyway, we had a little sticker shock. We started a committee to look into a new engine. Sticker shock between $800,000 and $900,000 for a new engine to replace the one we have. Same truck, few minor changes. That was a sticker shock to us. So that $394,000 is nothing compared to looking at a new engine. We normally take we take the money out of that account and we bond for basically the other half of the truck. Another 10 years from now, our rescue engine will have to be replaced, which will be well over $1 million. So next year, we should increase that fire equipment set aside to at least $50,000 to help pay for future engines and equipment. Thank you.
Any other comments on Article 9? Yes.
Excuse me, what's your name?
Jared Harper. So reading through this, it's very clear what the money's going towards in the grid on page 14. But there is a small caveat that I am curious about, and it says, and to fund programs, but they're not specifically called out in here. What's the and fund programs beyond what's in the grid on page 14? What's the miscellaneous that we're not being told about in that partial sentence? Thank you.
Mr. Murphy?
Yeah, I don't understand, well, I understand your question. I'm not sure what the answer is. I might look at, like, say, the recreational facility fund. That might fund programs, but generally, all this capital account is used for capital purchases.
Usually when you have a capital purchase, you have a specific budget line item that it's going to be used for. And you're telling me that you don't know what that is. That just gives me, the taxpayer gives me cause for concern about that.
So let's take a look at that grid that you were talking about. For instance, the very first one, Town Hall Renovation Fund. It's an old building. It's in great shape right now, but there's pieces that need repair. So that would go towards that type of thing. So I don't think there's any non-clarity there. Recreational Facility Fund, if there's any issues with the rec department capital, that would go towards that. Police Equipment Fund, they're using that usually towards, their the cruiser.
All of those items are called out, except for and to fund programs. What are the and to fund programs beyond what's in this grid and what's written in this article?
Yeah, I just don't have an answer for you there.
Scott, isn't it each one is what you're trying to list is each one is a program? So the equipment fund for the fire department's a program, that's how it's listed, why it's saying fund programs. Saying fund programs, so for the fire department it's 30,000, for the highway department it's 30,000, for the police it's 5,000. They're saying each one of those is.
Yeah, Brett, that could be it. It could, just a linguistic type of thing. I don't know.
I mean, this could be a holdover, from using these type of things. One way that the body could, rectify that is you could, if a motion an amendment to it to only use it for these account and not fund programs. Obviously, the body can do those things as we're, discussing.
I would make that motion then to strike that sentence that only use the funds as they're outlined in the article and what you have shown in the grid on page 14.
Are you making a motion for an amendment to strike the words and to fund programs? Is that correct? Is there a second? Okay. So next, we're going to vote. Any discussion?
Dean Alexander.
Any
Dean
discussion
Alexander.
on the amendment now of striking those words "and to fund programs"?
Can I interject
Yes.
one time, New? So what you're looking at on page 14, where it says "and to fund programs," that's the management explanation of the article. The article itself does not have, or it does, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, you're right. I take it back. So continue.
Mr. Buck.
No, you can't.
No, I can't.
I'm curious if maybe the fund programs is for the senior center and the community center, where it's not necessarily a capital thing. It might be Meals on Wheels. That some of the money goes to Meals on Wheels.
This is strictly for capital. This is for a roof.
Okay.
It would not, I've never, in the time I've been on here, ever seen anything, that just comes out of the general fund.
Or appropriation.
Yeah, this is strictly for those type of mechanical type things.
Any further discussion on this amendment to strike the words "and to fund programs"? If there are none, we can now move to vote on the amendment of striking the words "and to fund programs" from Article 9. All those in favor of the amendment indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no.
No.
The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and the amendment is passed. Any further discussion on the amended article? Hearing none, we can now vote on Article 9 as amended. All those in favor of approving Article 9 as amended, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it, the ayes do have it, and the article as amended is passed. Moving to Article 10. Shall the voters of the town of Ludlow appropriate the sum of $7,250 to the mover, formerly the current, to support the public transit bus service to Ludlow from Bellas Falls and from Rutland? Is there a motion? Ms. O'Neill, and second, Mr. Gerard. Any discussion on Article 10? Hearing no discussion, we can now move to vote on passing Article 10. All those in favor of passing Article 10 indicate so by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it, the ayes do have it, and the article is passed. Moving to Article 11. Shall the voters of Ludlow approve $75,000 to support of the Expeditionary School at Black River to provide bridge funding to the 2023-2024 school year? Is there a motion? And your name?
Who?
Otis Nelson.
Is there a second? Second.
Who seconded?
Marielle.
Discussion on Article 11. Mr. Pullinan.
I'm Pat Pullinan, member of the Board of Trustees for ESBR. ESBR is in its third year of operation, for those of you that don't know. And as part of our original five-year business plan, we were anticipating to be fully approved by the state of Vermont in our second year. This would allow us to collect tuition money for our students that were from sending towns. We applied for the state approval at the beginning of our second year, and we're told that it was a 3 to 4 months process. 19 months later, we persevered through the process. Through no fault of our own, it just dragged out. Unfortunately, we did not receive approval at the end of that 19-month period. Our approval was based on a one-time site visit. At the time of the visit, we were not aware that we were supposed to have out on display all of our information. We were expected to be asked for it or to produce it if it was needed. That wasn't the case. There was some confusion on our curriculum, but we have since changed all of those, made corrections and changes. So we are now going through a reapplication process. We're asking for the money in this article to help us with gap funding because we need to process this by hopefully June, so it keeps us a little short on our fundraising. So we're hoping the voters will approve us. The school's doing a wonderful thing. There's a lot of good work going on at ESBR. If you haven't had a chance to visit or see us online, we hope you will. Thank you.
Thank you. In the back?
Hi, can I have more detail on what that would cover? 75,000, please?
What's your name, please?
Mary Coyne, H-O-Y-N-E. I'd like a little bit more detail.
Mr. Pullen?
Sure. For 3 years, we've operated our school on a budget of $150,000. It limits our enrollment because we don't have higher tuition that's coming in to compensate our budget. This $75,000 will help us we're looking to secure personnel for the upcoming school year and operation funds for the school.
In the back?
Do you have any more detail? Like how much is personnel, how much are expenses for 75?
So you're recognized in the back.
Sure.
Hi, I'm Heather Rickey, head of the school. In my third year, I'm a full-time employee. And one thing that I'd like to explain that we've done.
Can you use the mic, please?
Sorry.
Thank you.
Thought my teacher voice was enough. One thing that we've accomplished since March 30th, the site visit that the AOE conducted, and their process was what they saw on March 30th is what went into the final report. We have just a couple months ago secured a partnership with the New Hampshire Academy of Sciences, which is just past Dartmouth, and they have a significant National Science Foundation grant. And they've, just through networking, we met, and they have high-end science labs. We'll be offering some science camps this summer. And when I say high-end, it's STEM for the future, 2 M's, math and medicine at the second part. In fact, there was a press release recently discussing the support and the teacher training that they're bringing to our school. And so in voting for this article, it's also, I want you all to know that we have the opportunity to work with NHAS and their National Science Foundation grant to bring renovations to the building. One of the reasons they were really excited to meet us was they were incredibly impressed with the vent situation, the chemistry lab, and how well equipped it was. And they just feel it's a really good starting point for this future. So the $75K to bridge, as we reapply with the state of Vermont for use of school choice dollars, that $75K is really to bridge the gap in staffing. Because I'm the only full-time employee. We have parents and guardians teaching to help fill the gap. They did that this year to also contribute to working off the tuition that not everyone has the cash to pay, so put time in. And I think it's what Pat was saying, was so that by June, we can recruit and retain the staff that we do have.
How many students do you have?
We currently have 15 students enrolled, 6 from Ludlow, others from neighboring town, but we are capped. We would like to grow incrementally, 40 kids next year, but because of the delays that were imposed by the Agency of Education's process, we haven't been able to recruit. We've been working on other things. We, with a flexible schedule, can grow much more than 40 kids. It's just trying to pace.
You're recognized.
Have you asked another town for money?
I don't know who just asked
And
that
your
question.
name, please.
I'm not.
Currently, we have not made a direct ask to the other towns, so the answer is no.
If we only have 6, you have 15 there.
We're pretty much a Ludlow-based school at this point. If they're,
Any other comments? Yeah.
Some of why the ask wasn't made at the time, also, go back to my, was the timing of the AOE's decision, which happened on December 21, and then when deadlines were. We will make those asks. We're just, not a 19-month process for state approval is unheard of, and so it's just been a lot. And once approved, with this support, it positions us to be leading the solutions to many of Vermont's education funding challenges. That's at the heart of this, is how Vermont is funding its schools. And we're looking to get out in front of that, but in order to be eligible for private-public partnerships and rethinking that model, we need to be able to extend the runway a few months.
You're recognized in the back. Yes, please.
Again, Jared Harper. This town voted to not support a high school. 2 times it was voted on, and 2 times the high school was turned down. We're now being asked to give $75,000 to an independent, essentially a private school, and I will never support public tax dollars going to support a private school. I'm sorry you had 19-month wait and all that, but again, that's not a burden that the town should have to support.
Right here, and then we'll go to Mr. Buckley.
Unfortunately, the way the state taxes are run for school boards, Ludlow takes in upwards well over $20 million and gives away $20 million. So in my opinion, to keep $75,000 to actually support local, to keep it in town, seems like a great idea in my opinion.
Mr. Buckley?
I'm no longer on the Ludlow Mount Holly School Board, so I don't know the exact numbers on the budget. But I know that we were planning on at least $150,000 in tuition payments to the school when they got approved. And that would be school tax money, not Ludlow Town money, so it's spread over fewer people.
Thank you. Yes, you're recognized. And then Mr. Mealy is on deck.
Andrea Goldman. I'm on the Planning Commission, but I'm obviously speaking only as a citizen. We didn't get to vote when this town voted against a high school twice. I could tell you my wife and I don't have kids, but we are firm believers in education. One of the reasons I'm on the Planning Commission is to help the future of this town and see that we grow economically. Our, live, work, stay, the living here, to have families stay, we need education. It is the fabric of society, and it is the future of this town and this region. For that reason, I recommend we vote yes. This is a bridge, hopefully a one-time to accreditation or approval. I'm not sure what the right phrase is. Thank you.
Mr. Mealy?
Chris Mealy. Yeah, this is an odd situation, isn't it? We voted to get rid of our school so we could save on our education tax. I still see that education tax on my tax bill. It's 80%, right? Now a school comes that was gonna raise all this private money and asks, hey, will you chip in some money to help us bridge? So, you know, I agree. You need a school in your community. So my question is, can we change this a little bit from a $75,000 bridge, can we change it to a $75,000 loan until they get to where they need to be? Now, I've never really thought of it that way until just standing here, but it sounds to me, and I've heard this from others, that when they're going through their accreditation process, I mean, you can blame it on all the worlds of society, right? COVID and all that. It took the state longer to process their application than expected. Did anybody from the school reach out to our state representatives and say, what's going on here? And give them the shove and get the state moving along? And did you get other support from other state representatives and senators to help push this along? And is that push still happening?
You're recognized. Thank you.
That's all. Thank you.
Okay. You can be on deck.
Ciao.
Okay. Yeah, State Representative Logan Nicole. I've been very active in trying to push this along. It's an unfortunate situation. We give the Secretary of Education basically supreme power over independent school approval. There is no actual, there is no like real point of intervention for your legislators. I did engage with our state senators and other state reps to try to lobby this and push this along. But ultimately, the Secretary of Education, Dan French, he kind of has the ability to just do whatever he wants. That is something that I've talked a lot about with other legislators to try to change that process to make it so he doesn't have as much authority. That is, that's kind of a longer term issue. And ultimately, he kind of chose, in my opinion, he deliberately chose to kind of slow play this process and drag it out a little longer. We tried to reach out to him multiple times. I've written him many letters, and I've called him a handful of times, and he didn't want to make it happen any faster. It is something that I'm hearing throughout my conversations with other legislators, is just that AOE in general is very historically understaffed. And so there are just not enough people that work in the agency to get things done on a timely manner all throughout state government. And so we're hearing that in a variety of different capacities. But yes, I have been trying to work on this. It has been something that I've been very closely coordinating with the Independent School Committee, when they reach out just to try to push things along. But yeah, it's unfortunate that we're where we are. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's it.
Thank you. And start with your name.
Yeah, I'm Gary Blodgett. I'm also on the board. When the town did vote to close the school, there was a committee that worked with some advisors, and one of the things was we didn't want to go to one school, to go to Green Mountain, or to go to Mill River, or to go in those type of directions. They wanted to have the possibility, it was presented that we could have the possibility of choice. And so that was finally the tipping point for some people who voted to close the school, that, well, okay, we could have choice. And actually, the person who was recommending us to look at that said, and then if you want to, you can start an independent school. Independent schools are like the school, I don't know if you know of Sharon Academy. That's an independent school in that small little town, and it's grown. Burn Burton is an independent school. St. Johnsbury Academy is an independent school. Thedford Academy, those are independent schools. Ours is small right now. Could it grow? Could it be something as a choice for some people? Yes. Some people will still want to go maybe to Green Mountain or Mill River or to Woodstock. But one of the choices it would be nice to have is a local choice for some of the community members so that we can have some students that are going here that can also hopefully want to stay here in the community and work in the community, whether it be up at Vail or any of the businesses here.
Thank you. You're recognized.
I apologize, I didn't introduce myself earlier. My name is Steve Myers. I've lived in Ludlow for 25 plus years. I am running for select board if anybody would like to say hello. And I would like to say we have no choice of giving away our school fund. That's going away unless a law in Vermont changes. So this is an opportunity to keep money in Ludlow, period. Our money's going away by the millions, and this is a chance to give local kids a bit of a piece and a place to have a school. So in my opinion, it's a great idea.
Again, Jared Harper. Steve, we've known each other a long time. I agree with what you're saying. If the independent school got some confirmation from the state that this is coming, that's one thing. Why would we give them $75,000 on a hope and a prayer that they're going to get what they're asking for from the state? State hasn't guaranteed it. State hasn't given any timeline that it's coming. Where does that $75,000 go if they don't get their approval? Does it come back to the town? What happens to that money? Is it gone? Again, if they had something that said, we've got it, it's coming, just waiting for the paperwork of the state, but there's none of that. Again, we're just giving them a blank check for $75,000, again, on a wing and a prayer that something may happen, but there's no guarantees that it will.
Mr. Blodgett and then Mr. Ponin. Or Mr. Ponin.
Currently, we're operating as a recognized school, which the state recognizes us as a school. So we're seeking school approval. If we shouldn't become an approved school in this year, that money still is going forward to operate us in the following year, next year, as a recognized school. At that point, we would be making the decision on whether or not we would continue to proceed to try and get reapproval, or if we would decide to go in another direction. So.
Mr. Blodgett.
I also want to mention, so as I was very pleased that Logan got up and spoke. Yes, we did speak to all of our representatives. I wrote many, many letters to and communicated to our, we had them visit the school, our local senators, and Logan, who has been very instrumental in pushing this. Unfortunately, it just got drawn out very, very far. In fact, I see Dick now. Hi, Dick. And he was helpful in pushing for just moving the process along. One of the drawbacks was the certificate of occupancy. And when the town changed the school changed hands with the town, that changed things that had been going on for decades that were just allowed to go on. But because it changed hands, they made the town come up with a certificate of occupancy, and that meant new fire doors, fixing up something on the elevator, and there was a few other things that COVID really dragged things out. And so during that visit, we didn't have that certificate in hand. They said, well, I'm sorry, during our visit, you didn't have that certificate, so I'm sorry, we can't approve you. Well, we have the certificate now, by the way, and Scott and the board really pushed to try to have those things happen as fast as they could. But with COVID and the supply chain and so forth, that was part of the problem. Next, after we did get from this visiting committee said that, we went to a subcommittee from the state committee upon a committee, and that committee had to take their recommendation. But they said, we recognize what you're doing. We think you're doing a good job. We would like you to reapply. We will see if the chairman of that subcommittee said, we will try to fast track your application. We think we have the support from that subcommittee that will then give it to the full committee.
Thank you. Mr. Gerard?
My question is the state funding any of the education done at that school right now? And we're throwing money in the wind.
The answer to that is no.
Yeah, Dean Alexander. I've been a voting taxpayer for 50 years plus. I've never voted against the school budget. But this town supports each of the students that's raised in this town through their taxes to go to school. We'll go back a little bit. We voted to close the school, then we voted to buy the school. And each step was each was a step in the process. In addition to the $75,000 they're now asking, they have a building that's virtually rent-free. They pay a small amount. So we are supplementing the school, the students at that school by that, and now they're asking for an additional $75,000. 6 of those students are from Ludlow. 6. If the school expands, how many more of those students will be from Ludlow? I can't answer that question, neither can anyone else here. I don't think it's the town's job to specifically give that money to 6 kids. Even if it's 15 kids, that's $5,000 per student. $75,000, I agree, is not a lot of money in the overall picture of things. But where does it stop? We're already into it for a couple $100,000. If you go back for the 3 years that we've supported the school with little or no rent. So I think it's time to have a cutoff. There's got to be some sort of plan other than we're hoping for this, we're hoping for that. Where do we stop? Thank you.
Ms. Bixby, did you?
Thank you. I was just going to ask Ula what a penny on our tax roll on the taxes raises.
Approximately 150,000.
So 150,000. So half a cent to do this, and it's still within the 5-year plan. Either they're going to live or they're going to die after next year. So I would say let's approve it.
I just would add, this was not an easy ask for our board. We thought long and hard about it. It's a one-time ask. We're not talking about 6 kids. We're talking about a future. And that goes beyond 6 kids. And if it includes students from outside of Ludlow that get an education, those are students that are getting an education for their life. So, thank you.
Yes. Sure. Washburn, Mr. Washburn.
Just one more time here. Earl Washburn. We've had a proud history at Black River. A long, proud history. The school closing wasn't a choice that we wanted, I don't believe. We're talking about your children. Our children. 75,000? It's a no-brainer to me. Thank you.
In the back, and then
I think back when they said that we voted to do away with the school, there was only 2 choices. They wanted to send it to Mill River or Chester. Nobody wanted either one of those, but they didn't put down that we could stay in Ludlow. But when you come right down to it, Ludlow School belonged to Ludlow long before the state got involved in it. They seem to have taken over everything that we have here, and they want to make it all theirs, and they want to dictate what we do with our school, our buildings, and we gave them the land for the armory at the time, which was part of the school property at the time. And they made us buy it back, which was supposed to be given back to us in the first place. And it's just one thing after another the state wants to take, like the money they're getting off of chemo, it goes to them, and we don't get back what our share should be. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. George Abraham. My wife and I have been homeowners here since 1999. And as proud members of the town of Ludlow, I'd like to ask everybody here to consider what is a town. So to me, when you say, I have a town, we have a town library, we have a police department, we have a fire department, we have a public works department, and we have a school system. So I submit to the citizens here is $75,000 for a school system. Any less important than, say, $75,000 to purchase a dump truck or something for the public works department. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
My name's Otis Nelson. The school budget for the TRSU, it's about $20,000 per student right now. So if you take those 6 kids that somebody was worried about, that's over $100,000. $75,000 is not much. I support this, and hopefully everybody else does.
Thank you.
I move we call the question.
Okay. Calling the question causes an immediate vote to end debate. So I'll ask if we want to cease debate. So when I do that, if you're voting aye, you're voting to end the debate. If you're voting no, you're voting to continue discussing Article 11. And this vote must be passed by 2/3 of you. Any questions about the process? All those in favor of ceasing debate on Article 11, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no.
No.
The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and debate has ceased for Article 11. We'll now move to vote on Article 11. All those in favor of passing Article 11, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed by saying no. No. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and the article is passed. We'll finish tonight with Article 12. We don't need a motion on this. It's to transact any other business necessary and proper when met. Voters to discuss whether to consider allowing optional delivery methods of the annual town report. So just a reminder that this is a sort of a place to bring up other topics, but you can't make any decisions or vote to move forward on anything here.
Just because nobody else has done it, and this is our town meeting, and it appears that we have some young people in the back, so it's probably, I can remember being that age, grueling to sit through stuff like this. But this is what matters, is being able to stand up and be able to give opinions in a civilized fashion, make decisions. You guys are doing this mostly on a volunteer basis with a little stipend. And Ula, not to cut you short, and the other elected officials, the listers, the zoning, the board of trustees, as you look across the state, it's getting very hard to find people to do what you do. So we really appreciate that, and we do need to support you monetarily and be involved in meetings like this. So I just want to take an opportunity to get that out for you and thank all the public officials and increasing the budgets, because a lot of towns are having a hard time keeping local government right here, and like Mr. LeGros said, keeping it from the state of Vermont all centralized. And we've got to keep our eye on that, because we could see that in our lifetime. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Nelson, and then Mr. Logan, and Mr. Nicole.
Hi, so I just wanted to bring to your attention that the VPA, the Vermont Principals Association, has given Bruce Stryhouse into the Hall of Fame. He was our first 1,000-point scorer at Black River High School, and that was in 1962. A little before my time. But I just wanted to give him some acknowledgement at town meeting. Bruce has been awesome. The other thing that I'd like to call him out for is providing long-term rentals for people in our community. That's such a huge benefit. I'm not sure what we're gonna do once he's done with his rental program, but for now, we still have them, and I'm thankful for that. Thank you.
Mr. Bodger.
I also wanted to, I went into the gymnasium today, and it was 1962 that his name is up there with 1,000 points. And then you look over to another banner, and it was 1961 state championship, 1960, 1961, 1962. Was it 3 years in a row? Was it 59? So, I mean, he was instrumental with that, plus then he also went on to St. Mike's and set all sorts of records up at St. Mike's, and did us really proud as far as Ludlow is concerned. Also, the students and myself had a chance to interview, if you haven't had a chance to see it, Jake DeRuda, who was on Jeopardy! And won 3 times. At 23 years old, was another Ludlow graduate. And I also want to thank the Select Board for a wonderful job.
Thank you, Gary.
Yeah.
Paul Alcorn, live here in Ludlow for the last 4 years. So as a relative newcomer, I've been trying to learn and pay attention to how the community operates. And I understand that tomorrow I am to vote for 3 select board members, and I have no idea who they are. And how, this is a genuine concern, and I'm going to ask if they're here, if they would at least stand up and introduce themselves. I try to pay attention to what's happening in the community where I live, and I care about it. How is it that we come to an election and have no idea who the people are that I'm supposed to vote on tomorrow? I didn't know until about 2 weeks ago that there were even vacancies, and I didn't know until about a week ago when somebody posted on social media, here's the sample ballot and here are the names. I don't know any of those people. And I may be the only one in the room, if that's the case, and if I'm the only one, then it's on me. But if other people are feeling or finding the same thing, I think we need to figure out a better way to be aware of who our elected officials are, who's running, how they see the community. So that's my mini rant for the evening, and if I'm the only one, I apologize. But I would ask if the 3 people that are running for select board would at least stand up and introduce themselves. I'd love to know who they are so I can put name and face together.
And just a quick reminder that the town meeting can't be used as a time for campaigning or politicking. You're welcome to sort of use this space to share your thoughts,
Right.
but just as a rule, it can't be used for campaigning
Good.
or politicking.
I just want to know what you look like.
Scott Bates.
Good, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
On that note, I just wanted to call attention to the fact that we have Bruce Schmidt here tonight, who is not running for re-election and who has been on the select board for a good long time and has served the town very well in that time. I had written a resolution, I think you already have it, so I'm not going to read it and embarrass you in front of, the whole town. But, oh, you already read it? Oh, all right. I missed it because I was up in Mount Holly doing, town meeting up there. But, yeah, I appreciate that you read that ahead of time. And, I just wanted to say, I think I can safely say from the whole town that we are so thankful for your service over these years. I was grateful to serve, on the select board with you and learn from you. And thank you so much.
Mr. Schmidt? Well, thank you very much. It has been incredible, and it's time for, someone else. 20 years is a long time, and I learned so much from Howard Barton and others, but especially Howard. And he always gave me real good insight and really helped me, become a better select board member. He probably moved him along a little quicker than I do, but just really good. And I can't thank enough, the town managers. I've been with 3 town managers, that when I was on the board. And, they're the lifeline of what keeps us going. So I want to thank my family. They put up with a lot. I can tell you we do get phone calls. There's no doubt about that. Thank my kids and my wife. And, it's just, it's been really good. And I would encourage anyone, and I think that the gentleman spoke here, and we've also heard from Mr. Alden about we probably do need to do a better job of making democracy is hard, but it doesn't mean that we have to continue to have, I guarantee you, we put up all the information you need like they did back in 1890 at the 3 different locations that you're supposed to in the town. We absolutely do that, but times have changed, and we need to get better. I would encourage this board that I'm leaving, the new board, to look at that, find ways to do it better with websites, find ways to get more people involved and know what's going on in the town. Before I give up the microphone, I want to personally thank Phil Carter for his time on the DRB and the select board. The first year I came in, I ran against Phil, and Phil has been nothing but an asset and a professional to this town. He has been so involved in so many different areas, and we're gonna miss him more than you're gonna miss me. I can tell you that. He does so much for that DRB, and at the same time, I want to thank Scott Murphy. He's leaving as a town manager, and I want to thank him for his time here. He's done a lot. There's been a lot of projects that have been worked on, and Scott is kind of the silent person behind, but he deals with a lot of many of you, and deals with a lot of challenges that we face. So we want to thank him for his time.
I'm just going to echo those remarks. You all should know that the Schmidt family has a long history of service to this community. It's not only Bruce, it's Lisa. Works hard. And to have a good man, you need a strong support behind you, and she certainly has provided that. There's no question about it. And thank you, Phil, for all your time. Appreciate it. And Scott, what do I say?
Gonna miss you, Earl.
You presented the professionalism, you brought that with you, but I think more than that, you had a feel for the pulse of this community, and it showed through your work that you did. So I congratulate you on your new job. I'm sorry you're leaving us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations.
One thing that we did, just give me a second, Peter. We do want to get some input, if anyone has any. We had some pretty stout discussions about whether we should be sending these out. And we wanted to get a feel. Ula will tell you that there's hundreds that return. I would tell you, I voted to keep it because I like to be able to grab one and have it in my hand. And the cost is not significant. It was, I think we said it was like $4,000. But the question is, to be kind of, sustainable. Should we be doing these? Should we be having them? They would always be available. So if anyone has any feedback on that, or anyone wants to at least tell the select board at some point, I would encourage you to do that, because times are changing, and there is some discussion on that. So.
Thank you. Mr. Gerard?
I just want to bring it to everybody's attention, the state of Vermont's about to pass something that's going to affect us all. They're about to add 70 cents a gallon to our fuel oil, our propane, and diesel. So we need to get a hold of our representatives and tell them no, because it's going to raise the cost for everybody.
Yes.
Thank you, Bruce, for bringing this up. We've been talking about spending money tonight, but if we can save money by not sending these to every household or every household that's on an address list, I agree with you, making it available for those who want it makes sense. Maybe we can print a quarter of them, save all that time, all that postage, all that paper. People could still get it that way. Maybe they would just get a postcard that says it's available at Town Hall. Or if you want us to mail it to you, you're older, you can't get to Town Hall for whatever, and the rest of us could probably read it on our computers and in PDF, or just it's available here also. So thank you for all that you've done, and thank you for this opportunity to save some money.
Any additional comments?
I would
Yes.
like to keep them coming to us residents. As a matter, we need them to look at before the town meeting. And I know I have to go to everybody in the rest of the state, but our residents appreciate them.
Any additional comments? And if, yes.
I move to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, is there a second? Mr. Kalenda? All those in favor of adjourning, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The meeting is adjourned.
Give that pen back.
Thank you.
Thank you. Promised.
I'm going to rely on you. Stop bringing up the job.